Well, welcome to another Bourbon Riders podcast. We're back on the road with our Bourbon Speak program, and we're in Habits Bottle Shop in Marietta, Georgia. And we've been invited in by Rahim, one of the owners of Habits Bottle Shop, and part of our Team Bourbon staff here is Andrew. So welcome, guys, to our podcast, and we're going to grill you a little bit, Rahim.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
But you know what? We got bourbon to make it better.
Oh yeah, it'll be a nice show here today.
So before we get started in our questions, tell us a little bit about Rahim. I understand you came from California.
Yep.
Why would anybody come all the way from California to Marietta, Georgia?
So you have to live in California to understand where I'm coming from. If you have never lived in California, you're not gonna know why I left California and come here. Just like me, there's thousands and thousands of other people that are leaving California because it's getting pretty crazy out there. You know, the business, the tax program that our amazing governor over there. I mean, you know,
he is amazing, isn't he?
Amazing governor.
He's got great hair.
Yeah, don't want us there, especially small business people. They're really no help for them anymore. So guys like me just look for opportunities in other places, and just happened to be that I had family here and came to visit them one time a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh wow, Atlanta is very diversified and it's spread out and growing like crazy. So hey, let me get a little piece of that pie as well, So me and my best friend and my other brothers, we all just decided to pick up and come over here. We still have our businesses there, but we're gonna grow more here because it's more doable. So yeah, that's what brought me here, and continue the legacy from California to Georgia, I guess. I've been in the liquor business for a little bit over 20 years now, and
wow.
Trust me, I've been there, done it, tasted it, drunk it, slept on it, done everything you could possibly think. Been to a bunch of trade shows, done a bunch of barrel picks. So yeah, it's pretty fun, and then it's amazing, and it's become a hobby rather than just to work. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's the best part.
So I really enjoy it. That's why I wanted to kind of, continue that here in Georgia. So we opened up our first bottle shop here in Marietta, and here we are. So.
All right.
Well, I'm in the liquor business too, according to my wife.
Yeah, well,
And I work for Rahim.
So we're all kind of in the liquor business.
I mean,
we definitely have a big investment in the liquor, especially in the bourbon
it's not
world.
cheap, I tell you that. It's not cheap for me for sure, and it's not cheap for being just a consumer. That you go in and buy bourbons and tequilas or whatnot. I mean, stuff is getting pricey nowadays. So, but if it's a hobby, if it's what you really enjoy, then there's worse things you could be involved in rather than buying whiskey.
Yeah, you could have a boat.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different chapter we need to talk about.
So, didn't you just have a 1-year anniversary recently?
Yeah, June 1st was our 1-year anniversary. Technically, we opened June 1st, 2023, and then you guys know we had a mishap where one of our walls decided to give out on us and fell. So we had to shut down for a week or so, and then we reopened July 1st as a grand opening. We had that big party and the big gathering and all. So technically, June 1st was our original grand opening, but then we had to change it to July 1st.
Well, I missed the wall falling. I guess I wasn't a customer back then.
You didn't want to be here for that. I still get goosebumps thinking about or talking about that.
Well, that kind of segues into our first question. You've been here long enough to see what sales of 2023 is versus now. It's almost October 2024. How has sales gotten better, worse? What has changed between 2023 and 2024? How's the business doing as a result now being a year older?
So for Habits Bottle Shop, I don't have anything to compare to beyond or earlier than 2023, but I do have my other shops in Sacramento and LA to compare it to. But if we talk about Georgia, for me, from 2023 to 2024, it's just an incline in business, right? We're still new. We're only a year and a half old. We have new customers still coming every day that don't even know that we're open yet. They come in surprised, like, oh my God, you got all this whiskey here. We didn't even know you were open. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's been a year and a half. Hello.
Welcome to the party.
Welcome to the party. And so, our sales are on the incline, but let me step away from Georgia and let's go to California, right? So my stores in California, sales comparably 2 years ago to pandemic time has dropped quite a bit because now people are back to work and you're not just sitting home and drinking all day and going to sleep or watching TV. You're actually working now.
Is there something wrong with that?
Yeah, well, if you could afford it, why not? Me, I got to be at work. Man. I got kids to feed that I don't know about and, family and,
let's not get carried away now.
No kids to worry about. But anyways, and the trend that I see in just the bourbon industry that it's been around for almost 100 years, right? We're about to, in 2020 now, we're going to hit 100 years of prohibition, right? And so the industry is a big wave, right? Up and down, up and down. Pandemic, it was up. Everybody was running out of juice. There's people that are just buying barrels from wherever and releasing product. So the business was good. Now the business is back to where it is. I'm not going to say that it's down or it's bad, but it's kind of back to reality. The bourbon industry, where I feel is always going to be an up and down until a new trend comes. Like when MGP, for example, became big, everybody wanted MGP juice. So bourbon sales started going up because MGP now was releasing all these barrels and everybody was getting a piece of the pie and making it their juice and releasing it. And so MGP era was very good. But now everybody's had MGP. So what's next? You know what I'm saying? What's going to be the next bubble? Is it going to be Virginia juice? Is it going to be Texas juice? Is it going to be La La Land juice? Who knows? Who knows, right? Who knows where the next big juice comes from? So up until they figure out something new, I think the market's going to stay a little bit steady. I can't say that it's going to be a bust or it's going to be a big up dive or whatever, but it'll stick around. I don't think bourbon industry is going anywhere when it comes to comparing years after years sales.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It'll be there.
So, what trend in bourbon, and you have a nice selection of bourbons back here, Rahim. What trend in bourbon has been the best for you sales-wise? What kind of bourbons really fly off the shelf versus ones that collect dust?
So, this is what I see, right? I see your old school bourbon, so like your Beam, your Makers, your Woodford, your Old Forester, all your Brown Forman juicers and stuff. These old school guys, your Buffalo Trace, don't forget about Buffalo Trace, Wild Turkey. So all these big guys that have been there for years and hundreds of years now, I should say.
Yeah.
Their product, it's gonna sell all the time. People already know what it is. They're used to it. I probably sell more Jim Beam or more Jack Daniels or more Woodford than any of the crafted stuff. So now
it's a staple.
It's a staple, right?
Yeah.
You have your staple stuff, and then you have your non-staple stuff where you asked me about the crafted bourbon. So where these people are sourcing juices and creating companies that didn't exist 5 years ago, but now it is. And so that's a very scary bubble right there, right? You spend a lot of money to get your juice, to get your distillery, to get licenses, to get all that time, employees. There's a lot of expenses to get it going, and if you can't get it out and be very comparable pricing to your staple stuff, then you have a problem, right? Because companies like Jim Beam will release a 7-year bourbon for under $30. Right, where you and I are sourcing juice, let's say MGP juice.
And I was all over that one. I love that one.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of others out there that people don't even know about until they come and talk to me. And I'm like, hey, have you tried this? This has been around for years, and this is still under $25 or $28 or whatever, and it's better than some of these other $100 bottles that we have out here. But this is the problem. The problem is that guys like you and I will go to MGP and buy a barrel like this and pay $20,000 for it, and that's just the beginning. All right. Then you need bottles, you need tasters, you need licensing, you need employees to sit there and check the stuff every day. You're going to taste everything. So you lose juice. So you're losing money there. But again, now when it's time to bottle this stuff, we're going to be like, well, It's costing us $36 to bottle this with the cost of everything, and now we have to make some money. So let's wholesale it for $50, $55
Right.
to the distributor. Now the distributor is going to want to make money. Distributor is going to keep $10 a bottle, $12 a bottle, whatever, right? Now it's in the market at a wholesale price for, let's say, $65.
And you haven't,
Right.
you
Now
haven't put it
I
on
haven't
the
even
shelf.
bought it yet. Now I buy it for $65, and I want to make money on
Right.
it because I have bills to pay, I have rent to pay, I have all this. So I mark it up.
Right.
Let's say 25%, 30%, whatever. Now that bottle is $99
Yeah. For a new
a
liquor.
new crafted bourbon.
Right.
It's great. There's a reason why it's in my store because I tried it probably and I liked it. So hey, let me order it because I'm gonna have one of my customers come in and be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I said, "Dude, I tried it. This is what it is. I think you should buy it."
Right. But at $90,
But $100 bottle
Yeah.
compared to that same juice that you could buy for $30 from Jim Beam or from whoever,
Right.
So
Maker's Mark, or
so in a sense, it's a gamble for you that people will be willing to pay this extra money for something they don't know much about when that Jim Beam or Jack Daniels is sitting on the shelf for
Yeah,
below
right.
$50.
Yeah.
And they already know what they're getting.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those guys, bourbon drinkers that like to explore and you don't want to just stick to the same staple stuff, then that craft bubble is for you, right? You
Right.
don't mind paying $20, $30, $40 more for something to try new just to see the difference between the staple and the crafted stuff, then and I think you should support that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to turn down that craft market because if it wasn't for them, then we would only have these 8 or 10 staple companies out there,
Yeah.
right? If it wasn't for these guys to take the risk of making crafted bourbons or whiskeys, if it wasn't for them, then we would be just stuck with our staple stuff,
Right.
which how much of the same stuff can you drink every day?
But one of the good
You
things
know?
about your store, though, is many times you can come in and taste
Yeah.
the stuff.
Yeah.
Here.
We have samples,
Yeah.
and I usually what happens is, let's say a supplier comes in with a new product, right? For example, Knobel Whiskey, right? The supplier came in the other day and brought me 3 different bottles to show me and to sample me. And so I was like, okay, let me try it. I tried it. I was like, oh, wow, this is good. And then I was like, hey, lady, I'm going to steal some of this sample from you because I want my customers to try it when they come in because it's going to be $65, $70 to $100 bottle retail. And for you to, pull that trigger just by believing what I'm saying, I'd rather, hey, Andrew, try this. Here's that single barrel one from Knobel.
Right.
Try it. If you like it, get it. If not,
Right.
I got some other stuff you could try.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I try to take a bunch of samples from our suppliers when they come in to sample me. That way, when a customer do walk in and they want to know about it,
Yeah,
boom,
try it.
there it is.
Yeah.
Try it. You know what I'm saying?
But
So-
we are talking about single barrels for the most part. We're not talking about, oh, you got a Jack Daniels over here that someone can just, oh, can I open this bottle and try it?
No, so we're not just talking about single barrel, Mike. We're talking about a brand. Let's say like Knobel. I'm going to bring them up again because that's the newest one that I brought. So Knobel came with a small batch, a straight bourbon, a single barrel, and a rye. Right, so I took samples of all of those. So not necessarily just single barrel. I'm just
Okay.
talking about overall when a new bourbon comes in,
Right.
and they don't just release single barrel stuff. They'll release
Right.
different varietal stuff. So I'd like to take samples of everything that they have. So that way, if I do order that product for my store, I have a sample for the customer.
Well, since I brought it up, your single barrel program, we've actually got some barrels in front of
Yeah,
us, and you and I have collaborated on a few
Yeah.
products in the past, and you've got a new one, this Remus, that has come out, and I know that you've been waiting for it
Oh,
for a while, maybe
oh,
a
boy.
long while. Tell us about how does one go about picking a single barrel like this one from Remus?
So first of all, this is what we have in our glass today. We're gonna try it out because we just got this in. Salute.
Salute.
We just got this in about a week or so ago. But a little story on the Remus is when we first opened up, I wasn't new in the game, so I knew a bunch about barrel picks because I've done many of them in California. So when I first came and I started talking to the reps, one of my reps that sells Remus said, "Hey, we just happened to have some samples of Remus barrels that came in." So I was like, "Oh, cool, let me try it." And I tried it and I liked it, and boom, I picked it on the spot because I knew what it was. Now, a year and 3 months later, we got it in. Took them that long to get it to us. I don't know what was going on their side. There were some issues releasing product or getting it shipped, and then once it got shipped, there was some problems with the distributors and getting it into the system or getting approval from Kentucky to Georgia, then Georgia approval, and I don't know. There's all these cycles that have to follow, or all these rules and regulations that have to follow. It took them that long.
It was kind of a running joke at the trade shows. Every time we saw the Remus guy.
Every time we saw the Remus guy, we're like, "Where's my barrel, dude?" You know?
And the funny thing is, Remus is made by Ross and Squibb, which AKA MGP.
Right.
One of the biggest producers in the country. I mean, they produce for so many other craft, and they produce so much source whiskey. It's crazy, and yet you had to wait on yours.
Yeah, and not necessarily saying that this happens with them all the time. There was just something with this barrel that we picked, and I don't know what it was. So usually, I pick a barrel, and within 6 to 8 weeks, it's here.
Yeah.
Because by the time I got this, I think we've done four other barrels that already came in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
After the fact, yeah.
Wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. I like this.
It's sweet. I see a lot of molasses, kind of vanilla in there.
Remus is known for their higher rye.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rye bourbons that I don't care for. This one I like though. The rye is not a bitter rye.
Yeah.
That spice you're getting from the rye is sweet, and I'm picking up cinnamon, vanilla, baking spices. It's quite good.
So this one's got the mash bill is 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% barley.
Well, that's really not too bad.
Right.
I mean,
It's on point.
Mike was an anti-rye guy for years until I kind of kicked him in the butt.
Until he kicked me in the butt.
Stop hating on the rye people.
You gotta have the rye. Rye is one of those it's gotta be in your system because, in my opinion, rye goes a long ways during the winter times here in Georgia.
I'm actually going to do a show with a rye in it, which my wife says, "What? You doing a rye?" Yeah, I'm doing a rye.
Rye.
It's winter.
Yeah.
So was any, and there we're going to just stay in bourbon for the moment. Any trend in bourbon that you've seen that's just people talked about and it's just not been good for you? It's just like it was a bust. It was flat. It wasn't a big deal. Any trends you seeing that just kind of fizzled out?
So I'm not gonna. Well, you said specifically bourbon. I'm gonna say whiskey.
Okay.
Okay, because
We'll open it up to whiskey. Is that okay with you?
so whiskey.
Fine with me.
It's what the main base is, right? And
Right.
then,
It is.
not
bourbon is
everything
whiskey.
is gonna be bourbon, right? But everything will be whiskey.
Right.
So the biggest bust that I've seen so far, especially here in Georgia, is the single malt whiskeys.
Okay.
Oh, really? I
Right.
never got into that. I
Right.
haven't bought a single
we're-
bottle of
Yeah.
single malt.
I don't have
Since
one
we're
either.
sitting right by it, I'll give you an example.
And I've heard that is actually a good
It is
single
an
malt.
excellent single malt whiskey, but when people see single malt in their mind, they're thinking, "Oh, it's blended with Scotch."
Going to Scotch, right?
Okay.
Right? Single malt for ages has been your Irish whiskey or
Scottish
for
whiskey.
bigger even Scotch
yeah.
whiskey, right? So automatically when people look at it and it says American single malt whiskey, so they were like, "Oh, so this American company get a hold of some Scotch barrels and they did blend with bourbon and Scotch whiskey."
They don't understand it.
I'm like, "No, dude, this is just all barley based."
Right.
That's why they call it the single malt.
Right.
Because it's all barley.
Right. And they can't call it Scotch,
And
right?
they can't call it Scotch,
Right.
and they can't call it bourbon.
Right.
So, because bourbon needs wheat in there, bourbon needs
Corn.
some rye, some corn,
Right.
all this stuff. So, this is, so far in my mind, has been the biggest bust. I know the industry is still pushing this product quite a bit because they want people to try it. If you see samples, we have samples here all the time for single malts. If you ever want to try some, I'm more than happy to let you try it out and compare,
Right.
the difference between, it's not high rye mash bill or anything like that when it comes to it. It's just very smooth and it's all barley. And,
Yes.
you'll pick up on it once you try it.
So
right?
something like that sounds like more of a marketing problem
Yes.
than an
Yes,
actual knowledge problem.
Recently I read up on a bunch of magazines like Whiskey Advocate's been pushing single malt. And
Yeah,
they're
they
trying
have.
to,
I get that magazine, and you're right, they have been pushing it.
and
Really?
they talk about it. And I mean, you got big boys like Jim Beam
Right.
and Makers and all these guys that are behind their product. They're creating just all barley based single malt American whiskeys. I say you should give it a try. It's been a bust. They've got a lot of product out there. I've kind of stopped buying it because no point for me to keep on stacking it
Right.
and adding it for a collection or selection,
nobody's buying
and then
it,
nobody's
right.
buying it.
Right.
So I don't know.
Even ASW Fiddler got into single malt.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, that's our local bourbon company here, and they do great stuff. But problem is people need to give it a try.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was thinking that was going to be the next big thing. You know, after what we talked about the MGP juice and stuff,
Right.
I thought this was going to be the next big thing, but
Yeah, because really the only American single malt that has some notoriety is Stranahan's.
Stranahan's,
Yeah.
Colorado,
Yeah.
they've been around for a while as well and surviving.
Right.
So I'm like, how are they
Oh,
doing
I've
it?
seen
I
their
mean,
stuff forever.
yeah, they've been around for a while, and I guess it's selling.
Damn
People
tallest
are trying
bowls I've
it.
ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. I think we have it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
Stranahan's.
Yeah.
That's a staple, right? You got to have it. The single malt whiskey from the Rocky Mountains, and this one is actually finished in the Solera barrels. So I mean, they do great stuff. People just need to trust what it is and give it a try, rather than just be like, oh, I don't know about single malt. You know.
So, the craft market has just been crazy the last few years. I've actually did some time up there with a craft distiller up in Dillard, Georgia, R.M. Rose. Nice guys, by the
Yeah.
way. But it seems like there's a lot of them that are struggling. Is it going to continue to grow, or do you think the craft bourbon whiskey market is just maybe it's gotten too big? What do you think?
I agree. I think it is too big. Again, I'm going to go back to this pandemic time, right? During the pandemic, a lot of bourbon companies, a lot of people drank bourbon. A lot of people drank whiskey. And all these people that have the money and that have the interest in doing a crafted distillery was like, ding, 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 ding. We could do this now. And people got into. In 2021, there was probably 50 more craft distilleries that opened up than 2020 had. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
So 2021, now you got all these craft distilleries that's buying, oh, let me source MGP juice, let me source this juice, let me source Virginia juice, they're sourcing all these juices and blending it and making something unique and releasing it, and people are coming in and buying it. And now, a couple of years later, it's like, what now?
Yeah,
What now?
You see this with Barrel.
Yeah, the
I mean,
sourcing is done.
yeah,
What now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barrel's
You know?
products are great.
What now?
Yeah.
But I mean, they're almost a little saturated.
Yeah, I mean, the market is getting saturated. We went from 50 to 500 companies in a couple of years, and how's that going to be?
Like the craft beer market.
Yeah,
right?
like the craft beer. Oh,
Yeah.
man, craft beer market, West Coast, from where I'm from, dude. There's craft beer industry. Let's say in San Diego, it's like Starbucks.
Yeah.
Every block, there's a craft beer. Every block, there's a craft beer. But come back to whiskey, the bourbon, the craft industry. I don't think it's going to be a full bust. There are going to be, sad to say that there are going to be a few companies that will fall off, because it's not cheap, right? It's not cheap to the process. It's not cheap. It costs thousands of dollars a month, and if you're not moving your product, if you're not moving enough barrels, then you're not going to. There's only so much you could keep on feeding into that business.
Everybody
out
can't
of your
blend like
pocket.
Barrel.
No. So
And then it takes. I mean, even if you have someone else distill it and they take it to you, you got to put it in a barrel. So you're years away from getting your return on your investment.
Right.
Yeah.
So all these guys now that have got warehouses filled with barrels waiting to get to age, 2 years, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, when they're ready, that market could be substantially different.
Yes.
Everybody can't be like Frey Ranch that does their stuff from beginning to end.
Or Smoke Wagon.
Or Smoke Wagon.
Smoke Wagon started in the right time. And like when MGP juice was not even a thing, they were already doing MGP juice. And when it became big, that just took them over the top.
Right.
I mean, you got Penelope, you got Pinhook, you got Barrel. There's a lot of companies that do a lot of crafted stuff that's out there that's making it, But You got a lot of other small ones that we get that you've probably never even heard of.
Right.
And they invest all this money and buying barrels from everywhere, and they age it and they blend it. And when the time comes to release it, it's not the market is not there for it.
Right.
People are not buying it.
Well, thanks to Andrew and Rahim, they've opened up my eyes that there's more than just whiskey out there.
Yeah.
And when I was very young, I drank tequila, and it was whatever was the cheapest on the shelf. But tequila has changed a lot.
It has.
And I am nowhere near an expert, so I'm going to pass this off to Andrew. Andrew, you've got a question
That's right.
about tequila.
And I am nowhere near an expert. Everything I've learned about tequila has come from Rahim.
Yeah,
But,
tequila. Oh, boy.
What I want to know is are the tequilas and the other clear spirits becoming more popular than bourbon, or is it kind of like a cross between the two, like consumers of each moving towards the other?
So I would compare whiskey and the vodka, for example. Let's start with that, right? I feel that the whiskey and vodka market are probably hand to hand for the longest time. And then you got rum and gin and stuff like that came in the middle that people wanted to try, but it didn't make it that big. Now tequila, it's always been there for the longest time. It's always been in the game. I grew up, went to college, had tequila many times, some rough nights, whatnot. But tequila has always been there. You have a bunch of staple companies like Patron, Jose Cuervo, El Jimador, Camarena. All these guys have been around for a long time, and everybody was just drinking because there was not much knowledge about tequila out there. You just knew tequila from Mexico. Viva Mexico, salud. Let's
what
drink
else
it.
do you need to know? It
You
came
didn't
from Mexico.
care how it was made, who made it, what's put in it, how it was distilled, or in somebody's garage or backyard.
Yeah, when I was growing up, it was just...
You didn't know. It was here, you drank it.
And when
You know what I'm saying?
Someone said to me, like, "Oh, this is 100% agave," and I go,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
What's agave?
Like Jose Cuervo was pretty much it when I was growing up, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, Jose Cuervo, and then we couldn't afford Patron. Patron was up there.
Oh, that you were top nut. That's when you went.
Yeah.
That's when you were like your senior prom. Like, I'll take Patron.
Yeah.
And then you're checking your wallet to see if you can afford
like,
it.
oh my god!
Yeah, can I get a Patron Martini, stirred, not shaken, please? Like, what was that? But now we've come to an age and time where tequila is taking over. Even I believe, in my personal experience, I think tequila has taken over the vodka market.
Okay.
Right? Again, everything is going back to this pandemic time. During the pandemic time, when everything was shut down, there was this much product sitting in the warehouse of tequila, and there was only this much product that was sitting in the warehouse of bourbon and whiskey. So what happened was all the bourbon started selling out, and there was no rotation of it because the main distilleries were shut down. So what now? Our shelves were empty. That we had no bourbons or anything on our shelves. So what now? So now when a customer comes in, it's like, oh, dude, you guys have no bourbon. What do I drink now? And I don't like rum. And I've had enough vodka in my life. I don't want vodka. What can I do?
Me too.
I was like, oh, hey, have you tried tequila? Oh, man, tequila. Yeah,
Margaritas.
Well, it's all the bad experiences coming back from tequila.
And I was like, wait, man, it's not just, just cheap tequila anymore. It's not just Jose Cuervo or I'm just keep on saying Jose Cuervo, but because that's what I used to drink a lot.
Staple,
I'm not saying that's cheap or bad tequila, but that's been a staple for many years, right? Now I said, hey, I have this tequila that was aged in bourbon barrels. All right, so the word bourbon would click into their mind. Oh my God, bourbon! So it tastes like bourbon? It doesn't taste like bourbon, but you do get a little flavor of because it's
notes of bourbon.
It's aged in the bourbon barrel. It's not distilled in bourbon barrels. You see what I'm saying? So it's aged in a previous used bourbon barrel. So when you age it for, let's say, 6 months or a year, it picks up whatever the juice that's left in the
flavor,
oak and the flavor and stuff. It picks up, and that's why it turns into a color like this.
Right.
Right? Because when it's distilled, it's clear.
It's clear. Right.
But when you age it, it picks up the color from the bourbon and the
Well, kind of just like bourbon. When it's distilled, it's clear.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
When bourbon is put in the barrel, it's clear, and that's why you have to age it for 2 years and on, so it could soak the color from the oak
Right.
and into the product. So people started trying tequilas during pandemic, and it was like, oh my God, this is great, and boom, here goes. So now that much product that was sitting in the warehouse, now it's come down to this much
Right.
within like 6 months, I would say, right? And everybody started enjoying tequila. So it continued even after the pandemic. People were coming in, was like, hey, let me get a bottle of this bourbon, but let me also get a bottle of this tequila, because some nights I want to feel like just drinking tequila or
Right.
sipping on good tequila that's aged in bourbon barrels. And people started buying more and more and more and more tequila. And now, in my opinion, the market is bourbon and tequila hand to hand, rather than bourbon and vodka. You know what I'm saying? So tequila is definitely up there. There's so much great product
Well,
out right now.
I blame Jimmy Buffett and Margaritaville
Oh, jeez.
for getting us into the sense that the only way you could drink tequila was in a margarita.
Right.
And it blew my mind when, like, you can drink it straight.
Yeah.
Do people do that?
Yeah.
Well, kind of continue with that now. So now that tequila is, kind of moving up there, can you talk about the additive-free tequila
Right.
market?
Right.
Yeah.
It's that's the big thing now, because just like, when you get into the bourbon, right? Like when we talked about your staple bourbons and your crafted bourbons, right? It's two separate markets for that. And the tequila is the same thing. You have your staple stuff that we don't know what they're putting in, their additives and stuff they're putting in to keep it that flavor, because a company like Patron or El Jimador or even Jose Cuervo cannot possibly grow that much agave, right? To make that much product that they're making. There's no way. So they have to take the young agave and distill it, and then add additives to it to bring it to what their original product has been tasting like, so people could continue buying it, right? But now you got this craft industry within the tequila industry that are spending a lot of time, and they are growing proper agave, and if they're not able to keep up with the demand of agave, then they're just waiting. They're not just adding additives, right? So they want to give you the pure experience of pure agave. And a lot of companies out there, like I've put some bottles like Bolins, Cascanes, Fuente Seca, and I could go on and on. There's a bunch of really, really great stuff out there that they don't want to add any additives, and they're okay being small, but they want to provide you great stuff so they could last longer in the market, right? And so additive free tequila, it's what I drink, it's what I feel comfortable, and that's what I experience customers like, hey, try this additive free tequila and then try this non-additive free tequila. There's a lot of bigger brands that are out there that used to be additive free, but now they've become so big, and I'm talking cheap tequila to $200-$300 bottles of tequila, they're not even additive free because they're just famous and they cannot keep up with the agave growth. So they have to add additives to keep up with the demand. And then somebody comes to a guy like me and they're like, hey, let me get a bottle of this Casamigos. And I'm like, whoa. No, you don't want Casamigos.
Right.
They're not additive free anymore.
Right.
The people that made the money and sold the company, now they can't keep up with the demand. They're adding additives.
Yeah.
Let me get you a bottle of Lalo,
Right,
for
which
example.
is cheaper than the.
It's cheaper than the Casamigos,
Right.
but it's better. And Lalo is grandson of Don Julio.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He's making amazing tequila right now, and only thing he's making is Blanco because he wants to concentrate on making sure that he's growing enough agave to keep up with that demand, and that's all he's putting out. And once he runs out, until the next batch is ready, there's no more product coming because he's not greedy.
Well, I've also
You know?
noticed a lot of these additive frees are not the expense you might think they are. A lot of them are very affordable.
They are. So there's a little saying that I say all the time that, yes, you need to get additive-free tequila, but not all additive-free tequila is great tequila.
Right.
Additive-free is just one source or one thing about this tequila thing. You got to taste that tequila. You got to find the nom, right? So they have noms, the areas Jalisco, where the tequila comes from, and every tequila bottle is going to have a nom number where it comes from. So what you do is you try that tequila, and you say, okay, let's say this is nom 1146. Okay. Oh man, I really like this flavor of this tequila. So what are you gonna do is now you're gonna go look for other tequilas that are from nom 1146. So you're gonna get a very similar tasting profile in those other brands because it comes from that nom. So it means that water that they use, that agave that they used, everything is gonna have the very similar flavor to it. Yet people might age it longer or shorter, or they might have add pepper or something in it to give it a little different taste. But that nom 1146, you're gonna get that flavor that you really enjoy. So you should stick with that and try different brands.
Okay, so kind of along getting back to bourbon, and this might end up happening in the tequila market. We're going to talk about the secondary market because I'm sure you have your views on the secondary market of for bourbons and allocated bottles.
Don't get me started.
So what is your view as a owner of the store about the secondary market, and do you see tequilas following suit with allocations and secondary market pricing?
So that's a very good question, Andrew, and I will talk to you about it in perspective of being an owner. There's a greediness in this.
Oh yeah.
There's a little greediness, right? I've been through it already. Okay, in my California stores when I first opened up 20 years ago, I got it 25 years ago, and I got into it, and I started to find out that hey, Pappy is what everybody wants. So I started asking about it, and my reps would be like, well, you're new, you got to buy this much product, and they have this allocations we get every year. You got to buy 50 cases of Blanton's, 50 cases of Weller, 50 cases of Stag, and all of that.
Weller Special Reserve, right?
I mean, any Weller.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was widely available, right?
Yeah.
Stag was widely available. Whatever Weller was being put out, it was widely available. Blanton's was widely available. E.H. Taylor was widely available. Like, you got to buy 50 cases of all of this, and so you get your allocation amount of money that you spend for a Buffalo Trace product to get you a couple of bottles of Pappy, So I was like, oh, that's how this game works. Okay, cool. So I started willing and dealing. Like, then they were like, you got to buy this much vodka. You got to buy this much other crap that's owned by the Sazerac portfolio. And so, okay, cool. So now I get bottles of this. And now I know that it's hard to get. So as a business owner, I'm like, oh, you want a bottle of Pappy? Oh, okay, it's $1,000. $1,000, but I'm going to need you to buy... Even for that $1,000, I'm gonna need you to buy a few bottles of their other product that they made me buy. So you gotta buy a few bottles of Blanton's, E.H. Taylor, and stuff like that for me to even get you that bottle and still charge you $1,000. So there was that greediness level, right? And so even I'm not saying I never did it. I did. Because there's a big game that gets played within the industry, right? Between the master distiller to the supplier to us. There's big game, like these distributors in every state want you to buy so much of this particular product so they could get it out into the market, but they reward you with allocated stuff.
Right.
So in my mind, in my calculation, I had to spend $50,000. I'm just taking a number, example, $50,000 in 1 year to get maybe 6 bottles of Pappy, 2 10-year, 2 12-year, 2 15 years, right? Now, how do I get some of my money back? Because I'm still, let's say at the end of the year, we bought $50,000 worth of product. We sold through maybe $30,000. I'm still sitting on $20,000 worth of that product that they made me buy
So
to
you
get
get the Pappy.
this allocated bourbon. How do I get some of that money back?
Right.
Hey, I'm going to charge you $1,000 for the 10-year, $1,500 for the 12-year,
Wow.
$2,000 for the 15-year.
Well, I've got a 12-year. I'm going to make you a deal.
Yeah, And surprisingly, what was happening, because the demand was so high, and that whole thing that happened at Buffalo Trace with that, there was a whole show on Netflix about it called The Heist, and a bunch of Pappy was stolen. A bunch of other product was stolen.
It was an inside job.
It was an inside job.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The demand for Pappy just went up the roof. So if you were paying $1,000 for a bottle, now it's $2,000 for the bottle because everybody wants that bottle. Why was it so big that they had to do a Netflix show about it?
Right.
That, oh, now I want to try it. Now you got all these corporate people that are doing all these meetings and they're putting out $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to get a bottle of Pappy or Blanton's or I don't know, you know, whatever that allocated stuff is now, and they were paying it. And so they would come to a guy like me 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and make my day.
Right.
Oh, they just dropped $5,000. I just made $4,950 off of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was Christmas.
But don't
every
you
day.
think, like, okay, in some cases, the distillers perpetuate this.
They do.
By, you know, with the allocation programs and everything. Because I know for a fact in some other states, you know, they have like tons of Blantons and tons of Wellers and stuff. You come to Georgia, this is stuff you're hunting for, right?
Some of the bigger cities, that's what's happening. Like, I don't think that the master distillers are putting that up there, but like, for example, the Sazerac house owns thousands of product in their portfolio.
Right.
And they give these distributors in bigger states like Georgia, California, New York, Chicago, Illinois. Like you go to all these big cities, and it's very hard to get that product for the people there because the demand is so high. And these guys, these distributors, are also greedy. Like they want to move some of the Sazerac product out of their warehouse, and they greed you as a store owner. Like, hey, buy 50 cases of Wheatley vodka from us so we could give you when the allocation comes of Blanton's and E.H. Taylor and Pappy, then you know you're on that list. You know, so I'm like, well, what list are we talking about here? I didn't know there was a list. You know what I'm saying? So who's creating this list? You know, so it's them, and they play their game proper. I mean, you know, and that's just it is. So what I was trying to tell you that I have passed that greediness a while back, right? We have made it. We're successful, and now we come to this time and era where it's gotten even more crazier, where to even get a bottle of regular Buffalo Trace is considered an allocated bottle. You know, 5-7 years ago, it used to collect dust on my shelves.
Oh yeah, and it's a $30 bottle.
It's a $30 bottle or less. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it used to collect dust, but now it's become even bigger. Right. And people are going left and right.
Don't hurt Mike's feelings. He's a Buffalo Trace fanboy. So
I will admit that I'm still looking for that BTAC. You can send a BTAC to me anytime you want to. I'll give you my address.
Yeah, and if you're that generous, you can send me some too, and I'll share it as samples for everybody. But now, you know, we run a program like a lot of the other store owners, point system, right? Like, I know I have bottles of Pappy's sitting right here, Weller, CYPB, and I have a bunch of other stuff in my allocation cabinet. But we have this point system where you come and you support me throughout the year, not necessarily just Sazerac product or BTAC product, but you come and support me. You buy wine, you buy beer, you buy whatever you buy. And we keep track of it with your phone number. And at the end of the year, let's say every December, that's what I like to do, is open up that allocation, and we print out a list of all my customers with points, and we're like, okay, Mike came in and he has, let's say, 5,000 points, and then Andrew has 4,500 points, and Rahim has 4,000 points, and we go down that list and give you the first dib on coming in and getting a bottle out of my allocation and paying MSRP. You know, so
Andrew's here like every day. I'll never beat him.
yeah,
that was just the examples, guys. I'm not saying they have that many points. That was
I
just
got
an
something out of the
example
case last year.
Yeah, last year was our first year, and you know, since we were only open half the year, the points were not that crazy. But this year was going to be our first full year. I'm not saying that points are crazy, but we do have a lot of regular customers that like our selection, that like our service, that like what we do and provide, and they see that we're not greedy like a lot of the other stores. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, every store owner on their own, they do what they feel, you know, makes their life better and that makes them sleep better at night. This is what makes me feel good for my customers, that I need to give you a gift from me by not charging you secondary pricing for allocated stuff. And I like to give you that as a gift. Not that I'm giving it to you for free. I'm just charging you MSRP, which is very rare to get.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the case now, and correct me if I'm wrong. You have more this year than you had last year
Oh
in
yeah.
the case.
Yes.
Oh yeah. A lot more.
Yeah,
And
I
I have
mean-
more that I need to put in there, but man, this cabinet is all glass, and I'm afraid
Yeah,
that if I put any more weight on it, I do not want to lose what I've collected.
Right,
So
exactly.
working so hard for everybody.
Exactly.
to
I'll
hit,
filter
you know?
out the glass and take it in case it crashes.
I'll hold it.
I'll do that for you. So before we wrap this up, and I have an announcement for our viewers. I understand that wine can be shipped across state lines. Why not bourbon and whiskey?
So I don't know. It's just the laws for every state is different. Every state has their own ABC rule book, I should say. Like when I came from California to Georgia, and when I went to go get my license, I was in complete shock. There's the the rule book. It's day and night, because I come to find out that this is a franchise state, so they do things differently. And then you could go to, like, I think North Carolina or the Carolinas, and that's ran by the state.
Right.
Right.
And they have their own ABC stores,
Stores, right.
and they
They control
the pricing and the stuff that's going to be released, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, coming back to Georgia, Georgia says that, hey, we do not want to ship out hard alcohol, anything over a certain percentage of alcohol that's in the bottle. We don't want to ship that out. They make wine more easy, because I think the highest you could get wine is what, 15, 16, 18% alcohol. And then here you ship out a bottle of...
No one would drink whiskey if it was that low.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ship out a bottle of whiskey, I think the minimum is what, 40 proof?
40 proof.
Minimum?
40%, yeah.
40% alcohol, 80 proof?
80 proof.
You know, that's the minimum. So
Yeah,
that's a big
you're right.
difference.
That's the minimum.
I think
Yeah.
that's the minimum.
Yeah, that's a big difference, right? So, again, there's safety regulations, but again, in California, we're able to ship. California allows us to ship to, and we have to use, of course, ground shipment, because
Right.
there's a company out there that does it. Right? They have 8 or 10 surrounding states now that they've dealt with, and they're like, hey, we're based out of California, but we deliver, and they've partnered up with whatever shipping
Right.
companies. I think it's coming. It's going to come here this way. But for right now, out of Georgia, it's just wine.
Because I know that one of the issues that I have running a YouTube channel is I have viewers and subscribers that want me to buy into a barrel, but I have no way of legally getting these bottles to them. Like, you're going to have to come to Georgia. Well, that's not going to happen
Yeah. Right.
because I can't ship outside of Georgia. So for me, it would be beneficial if I bought a barrel that I could ship those to my subscribers and my members of my channel. But would shipping across state lines or being able to buy whiskey over the internet, is that a good thing for a store like you or not a good thing? Is it kind of a plus and minus kind of thing? Some good, some not so good? What would internet sales of whiskey do for your shop if it ever became national?
It could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. So let's say if the bigger companies like Amazon or Walmart starts getting into that, that'll definitely...
That
Right.
usually doesn't work
so
out
when it
well
becomes
for
national,
local.
and there's a reason why Amazon and Walmart is not doing national alcohol deliveries, because not all the states allow it, right? I know they deliver in some states in California and New York and stuff,
yeah.
and they're already involved in it, and that's hurting a lot of the local business. But if that becomes a national thing, I mean, we're just going to have to, change our tactics of selling as well, right? I don't need a 7,000 square foot store
Right.
to sit on and sell, where I could just get a small closet somewhere and just buy a bunch of product and sell it online and send it, right? And so the business tactics will have to change if that ever becomes national. But for right now, if let's say Georgia does open up for us, saying, hey, we could ship hard alcohol outside of the state and to whoever is willing to accept our delivery, I think it'll help us, because let me tell you something a little more about this industry. Not every part of the United States gets the same stuff, right? So there's some product that California gets that Georgia doesn't get. There's product that Georgia gets that not necessarily California will get. So people will also want that product,
Yes.
right? Or like sometimes when I order some stuff, when I used to be in California, I want something that's just released in Florida.
Right.
And I would pay a lot of money to get that bottle shipped from Florida to me in California just because I want it.
Right.
You know, so now I got the product, but what now? Like, I just paid a lot of money for it. I enjoyed it. Okay, that trend is done. Now what? You know? So I think it's like it's going to be one of those hit and miss kind of situations. Of course, your locals will only come to you and support you, but there are a lot of people that want their tequilas and bourbons and stuff that we do not get here. I want it from other places.
Right.
I want it. I want it in my selection. I spent a lot of money, you know, and bringing in some of the best products for my bar. Then I want that, you know.
Right.
So, in a bigger spectrum, I think it's going to be good for everybody to get bottles across East Coast, West Coast, shipping wise. I think stores will have to change their tactics of, you know, if you're old school and you don't have any internet websites or anything like that, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money and get that made and put some of your products on there and sell it, you know. And I think they'll be able to survive, and it's going to be a split between your in-store customers and your customers that are outside of the states.
Right.
If you're, you know, like we post everything new that we get on our social media, and Andrew, you know, big help, and Mike is a big help. We talk about all the new products that we get in, and you know, Andrew comes in and shoots a video, and we post it on our YouTube channel, and we post it on our Facebook and Instagram, and people find out. And I have customers, believe it or not, that actually follow me from California, and they're always, "Oh, bro, can you ship this to me?" And I'm like, "No, legally I cannot."
So
there
really-
are loopholes.
so
Don't
really,
get me wrong,
if-
but you know.
Very simply, if you could ship products to your customers that don't live in the state, that would be beneficial to you. Regardless of how it opens up with internet sales, you would like to be able to ship to a customer that wants your product and is willing to pay for the shipping,
Yes.
bottom line.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So before I have my announcement, is there anything else that you want people to know about your store? I mean, obviously, we're Bourbon Riders, and you're more than bourbon. You have a lot
Yeah.
of different products here. What new things? Where do you see your store evolving to? And in a perfect world, would it be a bigger store?
Multiple stores.
Multiple stores, more product. What would be the perfect world for Rahim?
Well,
and
perfect
Marietta?
world would be to, you know, have 10 stores that are all successful in busy areas and whatnot. But unfortunately, Georgia only allows 2. You could only do 2 per family. So,
And that's two selling hard liquor.
right.
Yeah.
Right. You could only have 2 package stores,
Right.
they say here, in Georgia. So, and I'm sure there's other loopholes around it.
Yeah.
You know, I could probably do more, but you know, the end tactic is to be successful and to provide your customer in that area with the product that they will enjoy. You know, I don't want to just put whatever on the shelf. I don't want to just go by what social media is saying is the hottest thing. I don't want to just go by that. I have probably a little bit over 200 different kind of whiskeys and probably a little bit over 100 different kind of tequilas here. And I think 90% of all that stuff I've tried personally. So I could always talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be like, hey, I've tried this and I've tried this. And I think knowing you as a customer, I think you may like this. And 95% of the time, the customers come back and say, I really did enjoy this.
Right.
Thank you, Rahim. You know, thank you to your social media groups for posting it and letting us know as well. So and all in all, what I want to be is just a true, honest business owner that provides quality product to all the customers. And of course, you cannot fill the plate for everybody, right? There's always that one person that comes in, no matter what you do for them, it's not enough. It's okay. I've already learned how to go beyond that. You know what I'm saying? So at the end, I think what we're doing here, Mike, what you're doing is also very amazing. You go out and you help small business like me to succeed, and you talk about product, and you give knowledge and information, and you do a lot of tastings. Me and Andrew, and we go to a lot of trade shows and try new products before bringing it in. So we try to keep up with the new trend as well, you know, because just because I went to college didn't mean that the college days are over. No, there's a there's a new generation coming in every year in the college, and they want the newest product and the best product and the most affordable product. in the market. So we try to keep up with that trend, and I think all in all, at the end of the day, I provide the proper stuff and knowledge and product to the customers, and they're home and happy and enjoying it with their friends and family, and that's what makes my day, and I'm sure that's what makes their day. So,
Well, Andrew, I know you're a loyal customer to Habits Bottle Shop. Why are you here so often? What is it about this shop that you love?
I mean, Rahim's a great guy, very knowledgeable. He has a lot of stuff that you cannot find anywhere else. I mean, his selection is great. And just from you and, meeting Rahim, I've been lucky enough to be able to help Rahim on his social media, some of his social media stuff, and it's been my pleasure having a good time. And it's just a great atmosphere in here when you come in. I see a lot of regulars come in. Yeah. We get to talk about, sports and, liquor and all kinds of things. We kind of save the world's problems in here. And but it's just a great spot, so.
And I think that it's a great place to come and talk about bourbon, whiskey, or anything you want to with Rahim, because he's the kind of guy you're always welcome here.
Yes,
and that's what I love about coming here over to Habits. So
and don't be surprised if tomorrow Netflix announces that there's a liquor store show coming to Georgia. You never know. That would actually be something nice, right? I have not seen a liquor store show of any kind. I mean, you see housewives of this, pawn stars, you see, mechanical people, auto people. Everybody has a show. Yeah. I think it's time Netflix needs to step up and come reach out to me
Netflix?
There you go.
Or Amazon in that case, I mean, come let us do a show.
Prime, Netflix.
Right.
We'll take either one.
Let's put a show together. Why not? Put a bunch of business owners together and let's talk about the goods and the bads and the funds and not so funds and whatnot. I think that would be pretty awesome.
Well, and we get to our announcement before we close out the show, is that Rahim and I have been talking about this for a while, and we had the first idea was Tequila Tuesday, and I actually liked it, but I thought, I don't want to stop there. A lot of my bourbon drinkers enjoy in fact, they talk about it all the time. They enjoy good tequilas. There's all kinds of new product coming out in the rum and gin markets. So we're going to start a new monthly show called Beyond the Barrel, which is semi-sponsored here by Habits Bottle Shop, because we're going to come by and we're going to sample products outside the whiskey world. And we're going to start next month in October. We're going to start on tequila, because he's got me really interested in this non-additive tequila, especially these ones that are finished in bourbon barrels. Yes. I am anxious to try that. So we're going to open up Bourbon Riders to a little bit. We're going to think outside the barrel, and we're going to call that Beyond the Barrel, and we're going to do it with Habits Bottle Shop, and we're going to get into tequila, gin, rum. I'm not a fan of flavored spirits, but any real spirit out there, I say let's do it. Let's try it.
Why not? Why not? There's so much to explore out there.
There's a big world out there in the spirits world. So expect a lot more from Habits Bottle Shop with this Beyond the Barrel. So we'll be back in October, Rahim. Yep. So you better crack open those bottles for us.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
All right.
Well, thank you, Andrew.
Hey,
Andrew's part of Team Bourbon, part of our volunteers. And thank you, Rahim, again for being us here. And we'll see you next time on Bourbon Riders Podcast.